The thing about being summoned by a Vothic subcommander is that the summons itself is the punishment. By the time you get there, you've already lost the argument. You've walked across half a kilometer of corridor under the eyes of every species in the coalition, you've passed 3 honor guards who pretended you didn't exist, and you've had time to think about all the things you should have said in the last meeting and didn't. That's the design. The Vothic invented the bureaucratic perp walk about the same time humans were inventing fire, and they have not stopped refining it. I was wearing my second best uniform because my best one was in the laundry, which felt important at the time. Specialist Diaz. Sub-Commander. You will stand there. I stood there. There was a small geometric tile inlaid in the deck plating, and I had been standing on it for approximately 3 seconds when I understood that this was the tile. The tile you stood on. There is, I am told, a Vothic word for it. The word translates roughly as the place where regret begins. I'm paraphrasing. Reltashin was 9 feet of cartilage and grievance, and he had assembled an audience. 70 officers, 12 species. A standing diplomatic livestream channel humming a soft blue at the back of the chamber, which meant that whatever happened in this room was happening simultaneously in approximately 400 billion other rooms. I clocked the camera, then I clocked the faces. Nobody would meet my eyes. That, more than the tile, told me what kind of meeting this was. You will explain, Reltashin said, your transmission of yesterday. My transmission, sir. To the civilian sector of Tashik's Reach. I sent my sister a message, I said. It was her son's birthday. You used military channel encryption. I used the channel I have access to, sir. My access is logged and authorized. You used it? Reltashin said, and his voice dropped into the register Vothic use when they have decided that the conversation is no longer a conversation, to warn a civilian population of an impending military action. I did not look at the camera. I wanted to, I did not. I'd been on this cruiser for 11 months and I knew exactly what Tashik's Reach was and exactly what the Vothic fleet had been quietly repositioning to do to it, and so did everyone else in the room, and the difference between me and them was that I had a nephew there. His name was Mateo. He was turning 4. I had sent a video of myself singing the birthday song badly, and at the end of it I had said, in English, which is not a language the Vothic bother to monitor, please tell your mother to take you to Grandma's house this week. I sang a song, sir. You used, Reltashin said, and took 1 step forward, the privileges of your accreditation to interfere in coalition operations. I sang a song to a 4-year-old. You will be silent. Yes, sir. You will be silent, Reltashin said, because the noise you produce has, for the duration of your assignment, exceeded its tolerated function. The thing you have to understand about Vothic insults is that they're engineered. They don't shout, they construct. He had been building this sentence for a day and a half. I could feel the joinery in it. You are a tool, he said, that has begun to speak. We do not require speaking tools, we require functioning ones, you will henceforth. He hit me. I want to be precise about this because the recording is precise and the recording is what the galaxy saw. He brought his right hand across his body and he struck me open-palmed on the left side of my face with what I would later learn was approximately 40% of his available striking force. He had calibrated. He wanted me to remain standing. He wanted the noise. I remain standing. I have been hit harder by a swing set. I have been hit harder by my own sister, who was 11 at the time and had a grievance about a hairbrush. The slap registered, my head turned, my teeth clicked, and a small bright pain bloomed across my cheekbone and was gone. I had time while my head was still turned to think, oh, you idiot. Then I straightened and I looked at Reltashin and I said, in the steady voice of someone who has just realized she is the only person in the room who knows what just happened, Sub-Commander, the channel is live. His mouth opened. Behind him, his executive officer, a younger Vothic named Veshkoral, 3 steps back and to the left, whose name I had learned because she always brought her own tea, drew her sidearm. She did not shoot him. The Vothic do not shoot in chambers. She crossed the 3 steps between them in the time it took Reltashin to begin to turn, and she drew her ceremonial blade with her other hand, and she said one word which the translator in my ear rendered as confirmed, and then she did the thing. It took from the slap to the floor 4.8 seconds. I have watched the recording. The galaxy has watched the recording. There is a frame near the end where Reltashin's face shows an expression I have come to think of as the expression of someone realizing what protocol he just invoked. It is not a long expression. It does not have time to be. The head hit the deck plating with a sound I will not describe. The chamber was very quiet. The livestream channel hummed its soft blue. 70 officers, 12 species did not move. Veshkorol stood with the blade lowered and her sidearm still undrawn in its other holster, and she looked not at the body but at me. I had a line ready. I had had a line ready since the second I felt his hand connect, because the part of my brain that runs on terror is also the part that writes. I cleared my throat. I addressed the camera because I am, when you get down to it, a professional, and the camera was the only entity in the room I had not yet failed. Coalition record, I said. Specialist Marisol Diaz, human observer, 23rd of 3 month. I would like the record to reflect that I am unharmed. Then I looked down at what was left of Rel Tashin, and I added, because I could not stop myself, because the thing in me that makes the jokes is older and stupider than the thing in me that makes the choices. More than I can say for the sub-commander. The livestream channel hummed. Somewhere in 400 billion rooms, the galaxy began to talk. They put me in a suite. This is the part of the story that, when I tell it later, I will skip, because the suite is where nothing happens except the part where I sit down on a couch and start shaking and don't stop for 19 minutes. There is no audience for that part. There is no joke for that part. The suite is beige because the Vothic think beige is calming, and they are wrong, but I am not going to be the one to tell them. My UN handler called me 40 minutes in. Diaz. Sorry. Tell me you didn't know. I didn't know. Tell me again. I didn't know about the protocol, sir. I knew the channel was live. I did not know that striking me would invoke an honor clause. It's not an honor clause, Diaz. It's a 4,000-year-old contingency that has been invoked 7 times in recorded history, and never against a human, because there have never been humans in a position to be struck by a sitting subcommander on a diplomatic broadcast. Do you understand what you are sitting in the middle of? Beige furniture, sir. There was a silence. I had been told in training that my UN handler had a sense of humor, and I had been told this by people who had never actually heard him use it. I waited. Diaz. Sorry. In about 90 seconds, a Vothic officer is going to enter your suite. You will not speak first. You will not joke. You will accept whatever they offer, and you will say thank you, and you will not, under any circumstances, claim the debt. The debt, sir. They invoke the full protocol, which means the full protocol applies, which means you have standing under Vothic internal law to demand a single corrective act from the Vothic military to be performed without delay and without negotiation. We do not want you to claim that, Diaz. We want you to be gracious. We want you to be a victim. We want the galaxy to remember you as the human who took the slap and did not capitalize. Do you understand what I am telling you? I understood what he was telling me. Diaz. Yes, sir. Say it back to me. Be gracious, be a victim, do not claim the debt. Good girl. I have in my life been called good girl by 3 people. My grandmother once when I was 6 and brought her a glass of water. My first sergeant sarcastically the day I qualified expert on a weapon he had bet against me on, and my UN handler now at the worst possible moment in the worst possible tone, and I sat there on the beige couch with the side of my face still warm, and I thought, oh no. The chime sounded at the door. Veshkorol came in alone. She was unarmed. Her ceremonial blade was not on her belt. I do not know what she had done with it, and I have not asked. She crossed the suite. She stood at a respectful distance from the couch, and she lowered herself with the slow deliberateness of someone executing a maneuver they had practiced exactly once in their life onto one knee. Specialist Diaz. Sub-commander. Acting sub-commander, she said. The promotion is provisional. Congratulations. Thank you. We looked at each other. You're not going to arrest me, I said. No. You're going to apologize. I am going to deliver the apology of the Vothic Military Council, which has been in emergency session for the past 2 hours. Okay. And then I am going to formally inform you that you are owed a debt under the protocol of striking, and I am going to ask, on behalf of the council, that you accept the debt and decline to name your claim, and I am going to do this because my council is afraid of you and they have asked me to be afraid of you on their behalf. Are you? Am I what, specialist? Afraid of me? Veshkorol was quiet for a moment. She was, I had decided 11 months ago, the second smartest Vothic on this cruiser. The smartest had been Rel Tashin, and look how that had worked out. I am, she said, uncertain whether to be afraid of you or for you. The 2 states are not, in my species, easily distinguished. Can you stand up, please? The protocol requires. Veshkorol, please. She stood up. She sat down opposite me in the beige chair, which was too small for her. We looked at each other across the beige coffee table on which there was a beige bowl containing what I think was supposed to be a fruit but which had not, in 11 months, been claimed by anything resembling an appetite. I'm going to claim the debt, I said. She went very still. Specialist. I know what your counsel wants, I know what my counsel wants, I am going to claim it anyway. You understand, she said carefully, that to claim the debt is to remove from the coalition the convenient story that the Vothic made a mistake and the human accepted the apology with grace. To claim the debt is to make the slap the beginning of something rather than the end of something. Yes. You understand that whatever you claim, the Council will be required to provide immediately without negotiation, and that this requirement will be visible to every member species, and that the political cost of this will be paid for years. Yes. You understand that you are sitting on a couch in a beige suite, alone, with no advisors, no counsel, and a face that is, I notice, still slightly swollen, and that you are about to make a decision that will follow you for the entirety of your career and probably your life. Yes. May I ask why? I looked at her. She had brought her own tea every meeting for 11 months. She had twice corrected a translator who was rendering my words less precisely than I had spoken them. She had stood 3 steps behind Rel Tashin and she had drawn her blade in 4.8 seconds, and she had done it not because she liked me but because the protocol required it, and she was the kind of officer for whom required was a load-bearing word. Because my nephew's name is Mateo, I said, and he turns 4 next week and your fleet was going to glass the planet he lives on. Veshkorol closed her eyes. Ah, she said. Yeah. Specialist Dias. Yes. What are you going to claim? I told her. She did not move for what I will describe, generously, as a long time. When she opened her eyes again, she looked at me with an expression that I had not seen on a Vothic face before and have not seen since, and she said, very quietly. The galaxy is going to remember this. I know, I said. They are going to remember you. I know. For the rest of your life, specialist, you will be the human who. I know, Veshkorol, I know, can you do it? She stood up, she crossed to the door. She paused with her hand on the chime panel and she looked back at me, and her cartilage plates were doing the small constricting flutter that I had learned over 11 months meant a Vothic was about to do something she would not be able to undo. Yes, she said, I can do it. The claim was filed at 1600 hours, ship time, on a diplomatic broadcast channel that had by then an estimated live audience of 2 trillion. I read it from a prepared statement that I had written in 20 minutes on a beige couch with a stylus that kept skipping. I wore my second best uniform because my best one was still in the laundry, and the laundry had not, in the intervening 4 hours, become a priority for anyone aboard. I said, under the protocol of striking, as invoked by the late Subcommander Rel Tashin and confirmed by Acting Subcommander Veshkorol, I claim my single corrective act. I claim the immediate cessation of fleet repositioning around the civilian colony of Tashik's Reach, the withdrawal of all Vothic military assets from a radius of 1 light-second around said colony, and a binding 50 standard-year non-interference designation to be filed with the Coalition Civilian Protection Registry, and signed by the Vothic Military Council before the end of this standard day. I said, this is my claim, it is not negotiable, it is, under your protocol, not refusable, I make it once and I make it now. I said thank you. The Vothic Military Council ratified the claim in 41 minutes, which was the fastest ratification of a binding act in coalition recorded history. The fleet broke off. The non-interference designation was filed and signed before dinner. Mateo turned 4 on schedule on a planet that woke up in the morning and did not know yet what had nearly happened to it, because his mother had taken him to his grandmother's house, because his aunt had sung him a birthday song in a language nobody bothered to monitor. I called my sister at 2300 hours ship time from the beige suite, on a personal channel that was, for the first time in my career, completely unmonitored. The UN had stopped monitoring me approximately 6 hours earlier, on the grounds that there was no longer anything they could do that would change what I had already done. Mari. Hey. Mari, what did you do? I sent Mateo a birthday song. Mari. I sang it badly, Alina, he's going to make fun of me forever. There was a long silence on the line. I could hear in the background the small sounds of a house, a television, a child laughing at something, the particular soft clatter of my sister setting down a coffee cup she had been holding too tightly. Mari, she said, they're saying the news is saying that you. Yeah. That Avothic commander. Yeah. That you. Alina, is he in bed? A pause. He's in bed. Did he have a good birthday? He had a great birthday, Mari. He had cake. He had cake and he had his cousins and he kept asking when Aunt Mari was going to call and I told him you were working and he said okay and he ate 3 pieces of cake and he fell asleep on the couch and my sister's voice broke very slightly in the place where my sister's voice breaks, which is the place between the noun and the verb. Mari, what did you do? I looked at the beige bowl on the beige table. I looked at the fruit that nobody had eaten in 11 months. I thought about Veshkorel who had brought her own tea, and Rel Tashin who had calibrated his strike, and my UN handler who had called me good girl, and the 400 billion rooms and the 4.8 seconds, and the sound the head had made when it hit the deck plating, which I had said I would not describe and which I had not described. Alina, I said. Yes. I sang him a song. The line was quiet for a moment. Okay, Mari. That's all I did. Okay. That's all. Mari, my sister said very gently, the way she had said it when we were children and she was older and I had broken something I had not meant to break. Okay, that's all you did, go to sleep. I sat on the beige couch in the beige suite with the side of my face still faintly warm, and the galaxy outside still talking and my second best uniform still on, because my best uniform was still somewhere in a laundry that had bigger problems now. And I held the phone against my ear after my sister had hung up, and I listened to the small electronic silence where her voice had been. And I thought about Mateo asleep on a couch, on a planet that was going to keep being a planet. I thought, okay. I thought that's all I did. Then I put the phone down and I lay back on the beige couch and I went very carefully to sleep.